Integrating AI SoCs into your wearables should not have to be difficult. In our quest to find someone who makes it easy, we've ended up here at Ambarella's offices in San Francisco. So I've made it into the building and I'm here with lovely Pietro. Pietro, if you'd like to introduce yourself, tell us what you do and tell us a little bit about what Ambarella does as well.
Yeah. So I'm Pietro Cicalese. I originally an algorithms engineer and I went to the dark side in marketing. So now I'm a senior product or technical marketing engineer. And Ambarella is kind of my vector for that in a sense. Like all of the stuff that we produce is meant to distribute intelligence, make it more accessible, having physical AI at your fingertips in these low power and low cost SoCs. I think that's really our bread and butter.
So Ambarella, who are you guys speaking to? Who are your, the people that you want to reach out to that will use your products in their designs, in their, OEMs, for example?
Yeah, so any engineer that is interested in leveraging these chips that we're producing, these low power chips that are not super dependent on expensive components like high frequency memory, being able to deploy these chips becomes much more practical. And we have the chops to kind of support that. And we're building out this new developer experience, and everything that's happening in AI obviously is going to evolve or change how we approach that over time. What we're working on is basically giving engineers access to all of our tools, so having this full stack experience and being able to develop on any of our chips. So whether that be our computer vision focused far edge chips or more of the near edge intelligence, the Kooper Pro platforms or like the N1 platform, we support all of it. All becomes a part of one giant developer ecosystem.
So let's say I'm an existing design engineer and I'm already using Ambarella in my design stack. Where exactly would Ambarella fit in the design process and in the final product? And why would I have picked Ambarella?
Got it. Yeah. So, whenever you're thinking about all these solutions that are out there in the space, it does become a question of whether or not, you can actually develop the product that you're interested in on that platform. So with our particular platform now, with these products that we're releasing, Kooper, SDK, and all of the DevZone experience that we're going to be providing, the idea is that you're going to be able to integrate our technology into your product very easily just by interacting with, whether that be an agentic harness that we have planned that you can interact with. So being able to ask a model how to actually run something on the kit and actually running it. So not having to just copy paste the instructions from the model, but having it do that work for you. Being able to demonstrate that quickly, being able to evaluate our product quickly through those tools, I think that's where we can really provide those engineers a benefit.
So you mentioned something about Kooper earlier on. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so Kooper is basically our entire offering for like the developer experience. So that's our entire software that's driving all of our hardware. That's provided to the engineer in an easy to use way. So you don't have to go and break apart code and kind of reshuffle things around. Because again, our technology is definitely very efficient. So these are low power SoCs, and that means that a lot of our SDK has to be kind of designed a certain way. And it used to be that you would have to kind of make a sacrifice. You'd have to go from that kind of low level understanding up to your product. So it was challenging to get that information across to engineers, but everything is changing now with AI. It's becoming possible to actually weave that in to our developer solution. So that's kind of where we're going. And that's what Kooper is ultimately helping us do.
Okay, so Kooper is what I'll be facing as the developer, right?
That's right.
And sometimes the developer might not necessarily have the skill set in every single avenue of the project. So how would Kooper help someone maybe bridge that gap?
Yeah, so basically what you're going to be able to do through the entire dev zone really, and Kooper as like engine that's kind of pushing it forward, you are able to very quickly access any layer of the stack of our offering. So say, for example, I'm more familiar with ISP or like the camera processes that we do, but I'm not so familiar with AI. Maybe I'm not so familiar with LMs. So Kooper has tools built into it that allow you to very quickly run inference on our chips, even with even when you're dealing with things that aren't like the bread and butter, like ISP camera software, things like that.
Let's say I'm an engineer an existing design engineer using Ambarella, where would I be using it in my design flow? Why would I be using it, and where would it end up in my final project?
Yeah, so I think the first thing that we need to talk about is just Ambarella's role in the space. So there's over 46 million AI chips that Ambarella has sold. So it's a lot of chips that are out there. So we have the chops, we have the infrastructure for it. And now we also have this full stack solution we're bringing to the engineers with the dev zone, with Kooper, all of these tools that we're going to be providing. And the idea is that it's going to make it much easier for you to hop onto our platform. So usually you think about migrating away from some of the legacy stuff that's out there. It's very intimidating. I have to learn a new SDK. I have to learn the new, all these new bits, and it gets very much like it starts to become a huge hassle for me. A lot of energy gets, used up doing that. But what we're doing now is we're actually integrating all of these things into one kind of contained surface for people to interact with. So whether that be a chatbot where you can interact with the documentation, which many companies have that, or these new harnesses that are actually running our hardware. And that's something that we have planned for the future.
I do have a question, Pietro. You have so many products, I believe 12 different series of chips, which themselves contain many different iterations. Isn't that a bit overwhelming? How do you guys manage the onboarding process for people that want to use you?
Yeah, so that's a very good point, and that's always been a challenge. And legacy kind of, when it comes to the past and what we're doing with these chips, it was always a challenge. We had to be really turnkey, which is why, in the past, maybe people haven't heard about Ambarella. But now with everything that's been happening, we're kind of changing our approach. We can still have a very specific SDK for the target chip, but we can make that experience much easier, more palatable. Like you can basically be moving across our chips without actually having to worry about the differences between the SDK for each one. And we're doing that through these new tools that are coming out, whether it be an agentic harness that can route what you're asking for to the correct chip and then give you that correct information, making it much easier. If you want to run even the same kind of commands or scripts between two different chips, the harness can translate that for you. So that kind of starts to become much more we're seeing the advantages in both sides. Like we can have this really specific, very fine-tuned chip that you can use for whatever your target application might be. But we can also support this environment that connects all of it together.
So I don't have to run around GitHub looking for different firmware drivers.
Yeah,
okay, that probably helps a little bit.
Yeah, no Stack Overflow.
What are some examples of projects that you guys have been utilized in? What kind of people would use Ambarella?
Yeah, so when it comes to these kind of new agentic solutions and what's been going on in the space, that's something that we're developing, and we have a lot of vertical applications that you can just tap into. So that means, we have all of these apps that we have pre-built in a library for you to access, and then you can simply modify them in place, basically recycle what's there that you can reuse. So we're giving you a lot of these types of tools for these agentic applications. But outside of that, we're also being used, obviously, in a lot of different industries right now, like whether it's in fleet telematics or drones, a lot of big names have our chips in them. So we have kind of both sides of the engineer experience. Like we have more of that kind of traditional design where you're just dealing with our SDK and the chip, and now transitioning to this full stack environment where we can provide you everything.
So that's kind of the performance profile of the SoCs, but what other benefits can an engineer have from using your SoCs in their designs?
Yeah, so it's I think that really kind of boils down to like what everyone is experiencing right now in terms of like, where do I go? What platform do I pick? And a lot of the times when you look at solutions out there, everyone's trying to answer this question, figure out how do I get people to get on my actual platform, like not make it such a scary experience. And a lot of the times what you actually will end up seeing is a lot of this traditional kind of style of like, whether I give you, let's say, a notebook or a Jupyter notebook with some code examples that you're going through. But that doesn't help me when I'm trying to build a solution where I know what my constraints are, if I know like what I'm actually trying to do. If I have an example, it might help me to like, build out a piece of what I need, but it won't help me to put everything together. Like how is this technology going to play a role in my product? And so what we're doing is, again, kind of always going back to Kooper and the dev zone, you have access to a lot of apps that are already pre-built on the kit or on the SoC that you can actually just integrate directly into your workflow. So for example, let's say that you're doing something in like warehouse, let's say surveillance or security, then you would have, typically you would have to deal with the ISP, the actual camera SDK, then connect that to whatever inference you want to be running, whether that's on the cloud or elsewhere. But now we have a singular platform where you have this app ready to run with just a run button, and you actually have the source code for that app directly accessible in our dev zone. So you can just modify it in place. It's a complete end-to-end example versus just like a toy example.
It's actually quite interesting that you went into that kind of evaluation space, because my next question is actually about evaluation and specifically how engineers can evaluate Ambarella before they take that leap of faith, before they finalize on saying, okay, we're going to have an Ambarella chip on our wearable in our factory, wherever it may be. So how can you evaluate, especially between your 12 different SoC families?
So what I'm most excited about in terms of evaluation with our chip is what we have planned for the next few months. And that's going to be this online access. So basically you're going to be able to just connect to our chips directly through your IDE. So you'll have a node that you can just connect to, and it'll allow you to program on the chip directly. So using our SDK and actually, getting your hands dirty without having to make that, overhead commitment of buying the actual kit. So you start off, you get some experience, you see if you like it, and then you can commit to the actual platform. We also have a lot of resources on our website currently that you can use to kind of orient yourself with the platform and how it works, and many different resources when it comes to like learning the benchmarks that we provide. There's a lot of different things you can access.
Very, very easy to evaluate. And I believe this will all be through your website as well.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so what's about support? Because in the current market, engineers are quite often they're left high and dry with maybe extremely powerful hardware that they can't really utilize, or maybe there's an error or there's something they can't work around, especially given how new the industry is. AI is like not been around for very long, right?
That's right.
What kind of support can people expect from Ambarella? Do you guys have maybe, I think you mentioned DevZone?
Yeah, so I guess the first thing I want to say is that Ambarella has a really long history of strong engineering support. Like you're going to have a lot of turnkey support from engineers here. And that kind of comes from our past of being a company that's, we pair up with or used to pair up very specific customers. And so we would give them this very kind of unique support. And that's all changing now with AI. So we have the foundations of how we support you developing your technology here with our engineers. But we're now expanding that, integrating that into these AI tools and solutions in the dev zone. Like you can have a chatbot that'll allow you to interact with all of our documentation, so no sifting. And then obviously this agentic harness that we're planning to release. So we have like a various series of supports systems that we can kind of provide to whoever wants to move to our platform.
Okay, fantastic. Do you have any messages for engineers where they can find out more about you? Or learn where they can get your hardware from?
Yeah, so Ambarella, the website, ambarella.com, and specifically the developer zone. I think those are the first places to land to just get a sense of what we're going to be providing you. But I would also take a look at our public GitHub pages and the Hugging Face repo that we have. So those are going to give you access to the models that we have currently available, the tools that we have open sourced, and then as time goes on, we'll be releasing more.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Pietro, for your time. Thank you for your messages to ipXchange as well. It's been a pleasure being here.
Thank you.